Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I would like to gift my book, The Golden Key, Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance to you at goldenkey.gift, where you can get the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD at checkout. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. Here we grow again. It is a magical Monday here in the studio as I record. And yeah, feeling like I want to pick up Destiny of Souls by Michael Newton again today. Just read a few case studies, some ideas on some perspectives on new case studies of life between lives, which is what this book is all about. If you've never heard me read from this or Journey of Souls, his other book, they're really fascinating. And I like to just, be able to pick up a book every now and then and just read. And it's a great one because basically what he does is he puts people into a hypnotic, state and takes them to their, former lifetimes. And then ultimately, what happens? Well, what happens after your life, your life between lives. And he just maps it out over decades of doing these, what people give him as far as feedback and how things work on the other side and what their perspective is trying to connect with loved ones after they've crossed. And, it's really cool because you're seeing it from the perspective of the soul, like, I'm trying to get their attention and connect with them through this. And I think they felt my presence and stuff like that. And then also it goes deep into how things are structured and what our journey is ultimately like. And just very, very fascinating material and easy to pick up and just kind of read, a few case studies, hypnotic sessions here and there kind of thing. So, I felt like reading today. And so that means you're going to get read to. Once again, this is Michael Newton, PhD. This particular book, Destiny of Souls, new case studies of life between lives. I'm going to pick up, I kind of marked where I left off last time. And it starts off, just kind of talking a little bit before it gets into an actual case. When it gets into an actual case, it's Dr. talking, Dr. Newton talking to the person who's under hypnosis. And I'll kind of inflect my voice to kind of show in between. A lot of times he's asking a question and then they're answering, right? So, but starting off here, it's just, him talking. Here we go. Emotional recovery of souls and survivors. The last remarks from Case 11 about his wife Betty and those of Case 3 who talked about her husband Kevin touch upon the issue of later relationships by the survivor. Falling in love again after the death of a spouse sometimes causes feelings of guilt and even betrayal. In both these cases, we saw that the departing spouses only wanted their surviving mates to be happy and loved. However, just because spirits want this for us does not mean that we can easily compartmentalize our expressions of intimacy to past and present loves. People who have had long, happy first marriages and then lose a spouse make excellent candidates for a successful second marriage. This is a tribute to their first relationship. Having other relationships neither lessens nor dishonors our first love. It only validates that love, providing a state of healthy acceptance has been reached in between. I know placing aside feelings of guilt is easier said than done. I have received letters from widows and widowers asking me if their departed spouse could actually be watching them in the bedroom with someone else. In my summary of the spirit world, I indicated that souls lose most of their negative emotional baggage when they shed their bodies. Although it is true we may carry the imprint of some emotional trauma from a past life into the next one, this condition is in a state of abeyance until we return to a new body. Also, a great deal of negative energy is expelled during the early stages of our return to the spirit world, especially after deprogramming during orientation. When a soul once again returns to a pure energy state in the spirit world, it no longer feels hate, anger, envy, jealousy, and the like. It has come to Earth to experience these sorts of emotions and learn from them. But after departing from Earth, do souls feel any sadness for what they left behind? Certainly, souls carry nostalgia for the good times in all their past physical lives. This is tempered by a state of blissful omniscience and such a heightened sense of well-being that souls feel more alive than when they were on Earth. Nevertheless, I found two sorts of negative emotions that exist within souls, both of which involve a form of sadness. One of them I would call karmic guilt for making very poor choices, especially when others were hurt by these actions. I will treat these aspects later under karma. The other form of sadness for souls is not melancholy, dejection, or a mournful unhappiness in the way life has gone on without them since their departure. Rather, sadness in souls comes from a longing to reunite with the source of their existence. I believe all souls, regardless of their level of development, have this longing to seek perfection for the same reason. The motivating factor for these souls who come to Earth is growth. Thus, the trace of sadness I discern in souls is the absence of elements in their immortal character that they must find to make their energy complete. And so it is a soul's destiny to search for truth in their experience in order to gain wisdom. It is important for the survivor to know that longing does not compromise a soul's feelings of empathy, sympathy, and compassion for those who grieve for them. Since the immortal character of the soul is no longer encumbered by individual temperament and the chemistry of its last body, it is at peace. Souls have much better things to do than interfere with people on Earth. In rare cases, certain souls are so disturbed by an act of injustice against them in life that they won't leave Earth's astral plane after death until they gain some sort of resolution. I will discuss more of this phenomenon under the subject of ghosts. The spiritual conflict with these souls does not include sadness over you finding happiness with someone else, unless, of course, you did something like murder your lover to be with another. The one great advantage the departed soul has over a survivor is knowing it is still alive and will be seeing everyone who is meaningful to them again. The integrity of souls involves an all-consuming desire that those they love have the free choice to finish their lives in any way they want. If you wish a soul to come to you, it probably will. Otherwise, your privacy is respected. Besides, a part of your energy which you left behind in the spirit world is always there for them. Since souls lose so many negative emotions upon re-entering the spirit world, it follows that their positive affections also undergo alterations. For instance, souls feel great love, but this love places no conditions upon others for reciprocity because it is freely given. Souls display a universal coherence with each other that is so absolute it is incomprehensible on Earth. This is one reason why souls appear to be both abstract and empathetic to us at the same time. I have heard of some cultural traditions which advise the survivors must let the deceased go and try not to communicate with them because souls have more important work to do. Indeed, souls do not want you to become dependent upon communication with them to the detriment of independent decision-making. Yet many survivors require not only solace, but also some sort of approval in the forming of a new relationship. I hope my next case will help dispel the idea that the departed are uninterested in your future. Your privacy is respected by the spirit of your love when you are content. Still, if a prospective course of action, particularly bonding with someone else, leaves you unsettled, they might try to make their opinions known. Because of the nature of soul duality, they are quite capable of performing many tasks at once. This includes a soul's quiet time in solitude where they focus energy on people they left behind. Souls do this to bring us greater peace even when we are not calling on them for help. Before we continue on with today's episode, I'd like to take a quick moment to tell you about our sponsor, Talkspace. When it comes to therapy, getting the help you need has never been so simple. Talkspace is like having a therapist in your pocket because you're able to access them from the comfort of your device via audio, video, or text 24/7. Talkspace is the #1 online therapy platform and has thousands of licensed therapists trained in over 40 specialties. I believe it is important, if you're struggling, to realize it's okay to seek therapy. And this is the simplest way I know of to do it, and it's for a fraction of the cost of in-house therapy. Once you join, you can speak with someone that same day. You'll set goals with your therapist, and they hold you accountable and make sure you're really progressing. As a listener of this podcast, you'll get $100 off your first month with Talkspace. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com. Make sure to use the code POSITIVE to get $100 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's positive at Talkspace.com. All right. Well, that was a nice little intro, kind of giving the perspective on how, people aren't typically taking jealousy to the other side. I think I would agree that there's a much broader view. And I would imagine if a partner is left behind and then ends up in, let's say, remarried, well, that soul is obviously very closely connected to not only the person they're marrying, but the person's spouse that has moved on, right? It's all so closely connected. And a lot of the other book really shows how, it's like we're reincarnating in these soul pods, soul families. And these characters are coming in and out, through many lifetimes, playing many roles. That's all about our growth, right? So, okay, here we go. Case 12. George came to me in a state of some distress over feelings of guilt about a new love in his life. He had been a widower for about 2 years after a long and happy marriage to Frances. George wondered if she was looking down on him with displeasure over his developing relationship with Dorothy. I was told Dorothy and her deceased husband, Frank, had been close friends of George and Frances. Nonetheless, George felt his increased attraction to Dorothy might be considered an act of betrayal. I began this case at the point in our session when George sees Frances after a former life together. Okay, cool. So just to clarify there, it sounds like he's going to be talking to George, and he is interacting with Frances after a different lifetime together in this particular hypno session. So here we go. Dr. Newton asks, now that you have entered the circle of your soulmates, who comes forward first? Oh God, it's Frances. It's her. I've missed you so much, dear. She is so beautiful. We have been together from the beginning. You see that you never really lost her in your current life, don't you? And that she will be waiting for you when it is your time to go? Yes, I always felt it, but now I know. Note, George now breaks down and we are unable to continue for a while. During this time, I want my subject to get used to hugging his wife again and talking to her through his superconscious mind. He strongly believes that his guide and my own conspired to bring him to this juncture. I explained that the information he will gain should help him move on in his life with Dorothy. The catalyst for this awareness is evident when we start to identify other members of George's soul group. The doctor says, I want you now to identify the figure standing near Frances. Oh, really? I can't believe, but of course, it makes sense now. What makes sense? It's Dorothy, and becomes very emotional. And Frank, they're standing together next to Frances, smiling at me. Don't you see? What should I see? That they have brought us closer together, Dorothy and me. Explain why you think this is so. They are happy that we have found each other in an intimate way. Dorothy has grieved a long time herself over Frank, and the grief we both feel is being dispelled by having the company of each other. And you see that all four of you are in the same soul group? Yes, but I had no idea this was true. How are Frances and Dorothy different as souls? Frances is a very strong teaching soul, while Dorothy is more artistic and creative, gentle. Dorothy is a peaceful spirit and able to adapt more easily to existing conditions than the rest of us. Now that you have the approval of Frances and Frank, what will Dorothy gain from associating with you as your second wife in this life? Comfort, understanding, love. I can provide her with more protection because I am goal-oriented. I challenge things Dorothy takes for granted. She is very accepting. We have a good balance. Is Dorothy your primary soulmate? No, it's Frances. Dorothy usually matches with Frank in their lives, but we are all very close. Have you and Dorothy worked together before in other lives? Yes, but in different situations. She often takes the role of my sister, a niece, or close friend. Why are you usually matched with Frances as a mate? Frances and I have been with each other from the beginning. We are so close because we have struggled together, helping each other. She was always able to make me laugh at my serious nature, at my foolishness. When I closed this segment of our session, I felt that George had gained much insight. He was overjoyed at learning that it was no accident he and Dorothy were drawn together. All 4 souls knew their current timelines in advance. I've had similar information come to me from clients who were not in the same soul group as their new love interest, but were connected as affiliated souls from nearby groups. I found most people know if the person they live with is not a significant soulmate. This does not mean they can't have a good relationship with souls out of their group. I will quote the statement from a client who died before his wife in their previous life together. When I reach out to comfort my wife after my death, I do so as a friend and partner. We were not really in love. She was an intimate soulmate for me. She was not an intimate soulmate for me, nor was I to her. I have a great deal of respect for her. We needed this relationship to work on those things which played to our individual strengths and weaknesses. So I don't say, I love you, into her mind because she would know it isn't true. She might then confuse my spirit with her soulmate. Our life contract is done, and if she wishes, I want her to take another person into her heart. Interesting. Okay, so got one more here we're going to read today. This is says at the top here, reuniting with those we love. It is fitting that I close this chapter on death with a case illustrating what it is like for soulmates who reunite on the other side. This case involves a widow who meets her husband at the gateway following a long separation. Case 13. Doctor, who meets you right after your death? It's him, Eric. Oh, at last, my love. After calming my client, this man is your husband? Yes, we are coming together right after I cross over, before I see our guide. Tell me how everything unfolds, including the way feelings of endearment are transmitted between you and Eric. We start with the eyes, from a little distance away, looking deep into each other, the knowing of everything flowing between our minds, of all that we have meant to each other. Our energy gets sucked up into a magnetic pool of indescribable joy blending the two of us together. At this moment, have you both assumed the physical form you had in the last life? Yes, very rapidly we start with the first time we met, how we looked to each other, and move through the phases of body changes during our long marriage. It's not definitive because we don't settle on just 1 year of our life together. It's more swirling energy patterns right now. We even pick up on other bodies we had together in previous lives too. Were you usually female in those lives? Mostly, yes. Later, we will revert to a mixed gender pattern because there were good times in our past lives when he was female and I was male. But it's just fun right now to be the people we were in our last life. Note, my client asked me to please not ask her any more questions for a few minutes. She and Eric embrace, and when she speaks to me again, it is to describe how their energy flowed together. It is an ecstasy of coalescing. The spiritual passion sounds almost erotic to me. Of course, but it is so much more. I can't really describe it, but the rapture we feel for each other comes from all our contact together in hundreds of lives, combined with memories of the blissful state we spend reunited between lives. And how does the blending of your energy with your husband make you feel afterward? Burst out laughing, like really wonderful sex, only better. Then more seriously, you must understand that I died as an 83-year-old sick woman. I was tired. It was a long life, and I was a cold stove that needed warming up. Cold stove? Yes, I need energy rejuvenation. There's always a transfer of positive energy when we are met by our guides or by someone we love. Eric sparks up my tired energy. He lights a fire inside me to make me whole again. When this meeting is over, what do the two of you do? Our teacher comes to welcome me back, and I am escorted through the mist to our center. When a subject tells me that re-entering the spirit world has the effect of being made whole again, this requires qualification. We receive an infusion of new energy from soulmates and guides who may also transfer part of the energy we left behind back into us as well. However, as I said when discussing spiritual longing, complete wholeness will not take place until our work is done. Despite this, being restored to what we were before the life began is like feeling whole once again. A subject put it this way: death is like waking up after a long sleep where you had just a muddled awareness. The release you feel is one that comes after crying, only here you are not crying. I've tried to show death from the perspective of the soul in order to ease the pain of those left behind. As Plato said, Once free of the body, the soul is able to see truth clearly because it is more pure than before and recalls the pure ideas which it knew before. Survivors must learn to function again without the physical presence of the person they loved by trusting the departed soul is still with them. Acceptance of loss comes one day at a time. Healing is a progression of mental steps that begins with having faith you are not truly alone. In order to complete the life contract you made in advance with the departed, it is necessary to rejoin the rest of humanity as an active participant. You will see your love again soon enough. I am hopeful my years of research into the life we lead as souls may assist survivors in recognizing that death only exchanges one reality for another in the long continuum of existence. Cool. That is the end for today. I hope that helps any of you out there who maybe have lost a loved one or feeling guilt about, finding love again and moving on. And yeah, it's, I loved the story showing how it's just, it's all soul contracts and soulmates and soul groups. And, love is so much more broad than this narrow idea that we've often been taught. It needs to be constricted in such a way that would bring up all those feelings of guilt and so forth. And I love this. I hope you do too. Since we've been talking to spirits, about spirits today, I have a spooky song for you. This is one my partner sent to me and said it makes her think of me when she first heard it way back when. And yeah, it's kind of funny. Spooky is the name of the song, and the artist is Marabou State and Holly Walker. Hope you enjoy. Until next time, journey well. Also, before we cue up today's song, as a quick reminder, don't forget to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can unlock their lives with the help of the Golden Key as well.
I say alright. Love is kinda crazy with a spooky little boy like you. Love is kinda crazy with a spooky little boy like you. Spooky. You always keep me guessing. I never seem to know what you are thinking. And if a girl looks at you, it's for sure your little eye will be a-winking. I get confused, I never know where I stand. But then you smile and hold my hand. Love is kinda crazy with a spooky little boy like you. Love is kinda crazy with a spooky little boy like you. Spooky. Love is kinda crazy with a spooky little boy like you. Love is kinda crazy with a spooky little boy like you. with a spooky little boy like you.